I've been using the iPhone 14 Pro for over 2 months now and made a few videos with it. However, in my reviews I did not tell you everything. Yes, the phone is amazing in so many ways, but there still are rough edges that absolutely make no sense. I have found quite a few issues with this phone and I think you need to know about them. Some of these issues are just software limitations and others hardware design flaws. I will try to show you the areas where this phone lags behind and suggest my ideas on how to fix them. The first problem is not really a problem, but something that can and probably will be improved in this iPhone. Weight. The phone weighs 7.47 ounces, and some may say that it's a pleasant and comfortable weight, but I actually preferred the lighter previous gens. For example, last year's 13 Pro weighs 7.18 ounces, and 12 Pro only 6.66 ounces. In 2 years, the phone got heavier by 0.61 ounces. That difference may sound small, but that's almost 1/10 of the 12 Pro. And with the case, the 14 Pro gets even heavier. I know that you can't make the phone much lighter with stainless steel, but I wish the Apple team had found something lighter for such a big device. There have been rumors about the titanium iPhone 15 Ultra, and I hope these rumors will eventually come true. Because if this phone could be at least 10% lighter, it would make a night and day difference. Again, not a big deal for me personally, but I had to mention it because for some people it is a big deal. Build quality and design is great, but there is still some room for improvement. The second issue is mostly software related. We all know that the iPhones have all the hardware necessary for reverse wireless charging since the 11 Pro, but only with the release of the first MagSafe power bank for the iPhone 12 series, we saw for real that iPhones can wirelessly charge other devices. So this makes me question, why can't my iPhone charge my AirPods, my watch, or my friend's phone? The hardware is there, but Apple just won't let us use that. It's so bizarre that other manufacturers are trying to give people more features every year, and Apple is not allowing us to charge our AirPods with our phones. Am I the only person who needs that? Just imagine you're traveling, listening to music, and suddenly notice that your AirPods and the case are out of juice, and you don't have a charger on you. It would be so cool to place the AirPods case on the back of the iPhone for a few minutes and charge them a little. Gosh, AirPods even have MagSafe magnets now, so there should be no alignment problem. Tell me, why can't we do that? You may say, Arthur, but how often could you use that? I agree, not very often. But reverse charging can be a lifesaver in so many ways. For example, you have been partying and the phone is dead. You just place it on your friend's iPhone and after a few minutes you can Uber home safely. Tell me, doesn't that sound like a good reason to have the feature? I wish we could do that because that will make this phone so much better. Another issue is not a me-only problem. Almost everyone says the same thing. Why in 2022 do we still have a Lightning port? This is a Pro device, but its port lets it down every time. This phone can easily shoot 4K 60 FPS ProRes video at 6 GB per minute. It takes enormous 48 megapixel RAW photos, each weighing over 60 megabytes, but transferring these files takes ages. The Lightning port is incredibly slow at only USB 2.0 speeds or roughly 490 megabits per second. That is simply outrageous, don't you think? The phone is built for professionals, pro photographers, pro videographers, and other pros. Transferring these huge 4K videos and raw images to a laptop takes ages if you want no compression. Having a faster connector will definitely make a huge difference. I am heavily rooting for the Type-C, and maybe we will eventually see a Type-C iPhone. Don't get me wrong, I don't have any hate directly towards the Lightning cable. I'm complaining about the speed of what we have in phones that are intended for professionals. I was genuinely shocked to find out that the 2017 iPad Pro did have faster Lightning than the modern iPhone 14 Pro. That iPad has a Lightning port that supports USB 3.0, while the 14 Pro only supports USB 2.0 speeds. I find that totally unacceptable. I know that the Europe has passed all the laws that will force Apple to adopt the Type-C port in the upcoming iPhones, but something tells me that we won't get the speeds we want even then. Because Apple has clearly shown us that they can turn fast Type-C into slow with the iPad 10. 10. Call me hater, but this lighting problem is not something we should deal with. Apple must give us adequate transfer speeds. I absolutely love the dynamic island. It's amazing, extremely fluid, responsive, alive, and, well, dynamic. It responds to touches, looks really fresh and modern, and the built-in apps make a great deal out of it. But that's exactly where the problems start. Default apps. Apple loves to show how the feature should be used, but other developers must have some incentive to optimize their apps for the dynamic island. I know that adopting this feature takes time, but sometimes it seems to me that there are no practical uses for it rather than what Apple has shown us. Starting a timer, stopwatch, music icon. This feature has a lot of potential, but developers must come up with new ways of using it. One of my delivery apps has added this feature and it's kinda useful. I can see the delivery time as well as the delivery progress, and I wanna see more apps with full dynamic island integration. I wanna see other navigation apps beside Apple Maps to fully utilize it, and I generally want more of it. I wanna see it used, like really used. I have many apps on my phone and most of them can possibly use the dynamic island to some extent, but somehow they don't. Another issue with dynamic island is really small and more a question of taste. It obscures too much. The notch was permanently attached to the top of the screen, and with time you just stop noticing it. Most videos on YouTube were filmed in such a way that the notch stayed hidden, but the island is situated slightly lower, thus no matter what you watch, it's always there. Sometimes it can be mildly annoying, but that's something beyond solving for now. I don't think Apple will make the dynamic island, smaller anytime soon, so I better get used to it. It's a nice feature, but still requires getting used to, even after 2 months. iPhone 14 Pro pays great attention to keeping your data safe, but sometimes even it can fall victim to attacks. In such cases, you especially want your passwords to be safe and sound. It is important to always have your passwords stored securely, and NordPass is surely the best way to do so. NordPass is a complex tool that stores and encrypts your passwords, making it impossible for criminals to steal them. Here at this channel we have a small team and members have access to many sites and resources such as YouTube Studio. I can't let anyone compromise the security of this channel by forgetting the password or allowing someone to breach in. And NordPass solves that problem for me. I can not only store my passwords but share them with team members without being afraid that someone will fail me. I can simply add passwords I need to the list of shared passwords and everyone on my team will have it automatically filled. They don't even need to know the password. The system does everything for them, and that's a very big advantage. Now, if someone forgets the password, we're not losing precious time on resetting the password, completing authentication and all that. With NordPass, our passwords are secure and business works like a well-oiled clock. In addition, I can also add credit cards that others can use to purchase necessary software, equipment, or pay for subscription. One mutually accessible card is much better than sending card numbers and codes via email or messaging app, compromising the funds on that account. Additional features include data breach scanner and password health, which allow eliminating security liabilities before any damage is done. Plus, you can import your passwords to NordPass, which makes the transition painless. NordPass application itself is protected by multi-factor authentication, master password, and biometric authentication. This way, browsing the web on any device will be trouble-free, so if you are feeling that passwords are your weak spot, try out NordPass. Check out NordPass Business in action with a 3-month free trial by clicking the link in the description and entering the code. Make your internet browsing secure with NordPass. The other thing that is truly amazing is the camera. It is absolutely fantastic. The photos are sharp and colorful, the amount of details is shocking, but only in ProRAW. Regular 12 megapixel photos look almost like they did a year ago, but the camera is really good. However, I have one question. You gave us 48 megapixel raw images and 12 megapixel processed images. Isn't it possible to add 48 megapixel processed images? Raw images are great for people who love to tweak stuff and play with settings, but having 48 megapixel shots instead of 12 is definitely something I'm looking forward to seeing, because I hardly ever need all the flexibility the ProRAW gives me, but I often need a high-res image that doesn't doesn't weigh a ton. Surely you can convert raw images into regular ones, but why can't Apple just add a switch in the camera app that turns on that 48 megapixel? I think it's a cool feature that will definitely be loved by many. Okay, the next one is kinda ignored by many, but where is the 4K slow-mo video? Apple was the pioneer in slow-mo shooting, releasing this function with the iPhone 5S all the way in 2013. But over the years, almost nothing has changed. We still can shoot only 1080p at 240 FPS. I feel like that's something to look at. And Apple should give us at least 4K 120 FPS and up the frame rate for 1080p to 480 frames per second at least. I'm sure that hardware can handle it. The sensor gets a lot of light and the A16 is crazy powerful. And one more tiny bit about the camera, these annoying reflections from the lenses. If you're shooting against light sources, you get those bright dots on your photos. Pixels, for example, don't have that. So why did Apple not add the flare reduction algorithms yet, or something that will take away these weird flares? I won't talk about this issue more, let's just continue the conversation in the comment section. And the final issue I think needs improving is the always-on screen. First, it's too bright sometimes. Second, it shows more than I want. You know me, I always try to stay positive and I won't break my rules. I love this always-on display, but it needs more work. I want to have the ability to have a full black always-on screen with only clock and notification indicators. Luckily, Apple has added more customization options into the iOS 16.2 beta free. In a few months, with a public release, you will be able to turn on the wallpapers and notifications, leaving only black screen and clock. Personally, I can't wait for this update to get released, so yeah, this issue is a minor one and will be gone soon, and that's why it's at the end of my list. In the end, I want to say one thing. iPhone 14 Pro is a great phone. It's fast, shoots great photos, and is pure joy to use, but it still needs some work. It feels to me like an uncut gem that has minor imperfections that doesn't allow it to be called the best phone in the world. And I want to believe that Apple will listen to us and fix them next year.